Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner on Twitter. Thank you wherever you're watching, whether it's Twitter, StreamYard, Instagram, no, not on Instagram, YouTube. Make sure everyone's paying attention at home. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening, I appreciate it. Please rate 5 stars or like it or do whatever you need to do. Leave some comments, do something like that. Trying to get picked up by someone who actually cares what I'm doing a little bit more. It can give me really to the people. So if you like what you're doing, try to do as many episodes as possible. This is a special midweek episode. No Champions League because that doesn't start till next week, but we do have matches in the Premier League, in France and Ligue 1, and also in Serie A. So a couple German Cup matches, but they're between Bayern Munchen and RB Leipzig and Sisters of the Blind. So I will not be covering those. I'm expecting spreads in the 3 and 4 goal regions, probably even higher for Bayern because I have no idea what to put it. But we're gonna go through, make a best bet for each of the leagues we cover today. So England, France, and Italy, and we'll make an ultimate best bet. Why not? I'm looking at lines for the first time. It is Monday night here in the U.S. in Dallas, Texas, and without further ado, we'll get into the English Premier League. Currently, Fulham are hosting Brighton, the first match or first window of Tuesday's matches in the Premier League. Currently, Fulham a quarter goal underdog, and I'm starting to believe in who Fulham are. I mean, they haven't really been the defensive team that we thought they might turn into with their manager. I guess that was very unlikely, but they've really took it to Liverpool, who haven't looked great so far this year. Their next match, I backed them at Wolves. They weren't great in that one. Wolves probably outplayed them, but they ultimately had the biggest chances and probably had more XG because they had a penalty that was saved. Mitrovic couldn't get that one, but then went to Arsenal. I thought they were really good this weekend. We're really feisty. We're certainly wasting a ton of clock, and hilarious exchange of Mitrovic in the first half, I think it was, walking off the pitch, and some adult woman in Arsenal gear doing jerk off symbols at him, which is really, really funny and made me want to die laughing. But then I was also worried that he might get a little angry and say something, but I don't think he did, and he might have been winding him up. Anyway, love Alexander Mitrovic. I like that he's scoring goals. I mean, the theft that he did on Gabriel for that first goal against Arsenal was awesome, and I felt like Fulham deserved a point from that matchup. Could have argued that they deserved to win. Arsenal weren't really doing much despite having a ton of possession. And Fulham, they've been pragmatic to a certain level, but still are trying to be the flying team that scored a ton of goals in the championship last season. And I really like the idea of them fighting and hanging around in the league way more than I did before the season started. That's for sure. Now it's a long year. Depth is going to be tested, especially newly promoted sides. But they're in the league 2 seasons ago. Didn't seem to drop off too far. So I like their start. Long-winded saying though of them getting a quarter of goal at home because they're hosting Brighton, who's been awesome. Got a good win against Leeds this weekend. Didn't really do much offensively, but one moment of madness or magic was enough for them to take a 1-0 lead, and they held on for the rest of the time. Jesse Marsch was losing on the sidelines. I love that guy. I think every game I watch of him, I like him even more. I did back Leeds this weekend, lost half of a unit because I took the 3/4. Once it got above a half, I just couldn't resist. And I still feel like it was a good bet. I mean, only lost half a stake, but got the 90 minutes or 120 minutes of entertainment, and could have easily been a cover if Wolves just could have, or excuse me, if Leeds could have found one way to really put the ball on net. Because unfortunately, I don't think that Brighton really had 2 goals in them, which is a lot of where my handicap sat. Anyway, Brighton are off to a great start. It's a little weird to see them as a road favorite. They are playing a newly promoted side. I am an underdog player, so I lean to Fulham, of course. If you've been hanging around for 3 seasons of this podcast, thank you. But you probably have heard me say that enough times now. I'll try not to keep repeating myself. But for the new listeners, I do like some underdogs. You'll see that across all the sports that I play. But from where I sit with Brighton, they still don't have an offense I really trust. Danny Welbeck as a striker has been good, but he's not someone you can trust to score goals. Had a really big chance that fell to Sully March, who just really had no chance to beat Meslier. Good save for him. So I guess maybe Brighton deserved a little bit more than that 1 goal they scored. But they're essentially a really good defensive team because they possess the ball and they don't do a ton with it, which makes them a little bit more dangerous as a favorite. But I love Brighton as an underdog. They are not one here. So Fulham's the only way I could go with this. The home crowd on a Tuesday should be early evening, but I think they should have a decent crowd there because I mean Fulham will take it seriously. They came up from the championship, so they should have a really good run of crowd support, I think, for as long as they can keep momentum going. I lean that way at a quarter. You need to win the match for Fulham to pay a full bet. Certainly, I'm not at all too proud to take a half of a unit if they took a draw. I do think goalless is a possibility because I don't think that Brighton are really going to score a lot of goals. I think Brighton can get one and certainly can get two if Fulham have to try to press up the pitch and get an equalizer. But where the spread is in this one, it's not something really to worry about. And I think from where I sit, I think a half of a goal would make me feel a lot more comfortable on Fulham. I don't think that we're going to get that, unfortunately. And looking at the lines that I made this morning, which I'm trying to do them earlier, but life gets in the way. I thought the Brighton would be a pick 'em, but with more of the juice right now. So I lean to Fulham. I think there's value on Fulham. Wouldn't hate anybody playing them because Brighton is not going to play this way or not going to play this well all season. But I'd like a little more. So I'm going to hold out and see what happens with this number. Next, we go Crystal Palace hosting Brentford. Currently, Palace, a quarter goal favorite with all the juice. Might climb into that half that we're looking for. Brentford didn't have a great showing this weekend. Fell behind Everton and then really kicked it into gear and dominated that match. And it looked like they might have even won in regulation. But I think they're still a team that struggles to score goals. Their defense is usually really unified and aligned. I don't know that it's been that way so far this season. They've had to work in Ben Mee, and I feel like they haven't had the back three that they wanted with Ayer out and also Pinnock not playing. But they're kind of hanging in there, hanging around. They got off to a great start, so certainly looks like a team that's going to stay in the league. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, what a crazy start, taking a 2-0 lead on Man City, but then surrendering that and holding on really I took +2, and I thought it looked they were dead. Maybe they were gassed, I'm not sure. But of course, Patrick Vieira, when they fell behind and surrendered that 2-0 lead, he went with offensive substitutions, brought in Mateta, who has never probably defended in his life besides trying to put his head in the way of a corner kick. And that was just not a way for them to stay in that game and play for a point. I know he needed a goal, but I just feel like there are others that needed to be there. And maybe Wilf Zaha, if he was in there, it might have made a little bit more of a difference. I think 9 million times out of 9 million times, Patrick Vieira would have taken a 2-0 lead at City. So, they were in great position. But I think it speaks to how good City are, but ultimately, I still have some questions about the Crystal Palace defense. They are a great home team. They were so dominant last year that they were boat racing really good teams last year, and they weren't really that good themselves. That makes me worried about Brentford here based on the venue, which is something that I tend to sell more than I buy, I think, in this world. But ultimately, at the quarter, I think that's based on the venue. I think I'm scared enough that quarter is not enough for me on Brentford. I do think we might see a half of a goal, at least with a heavy juice potential. And if you have books that offer multiple lines or handicaps that you can kind of adjust with different juices, that half might be worth it. I think that's, of course, the only way I lean, but I just don't believe in the Crystal Palace offense. I feel like until Wilf Zaha is confirmed that he's staying, I think he's leaving or probably will be held out of the team with some pseudo leg injury or whatever they're calling it. I think it's because he's 29, he's running out of contract and they need to get something for him, which makes total sense. I like Brentford, but I want to see a half. So we'll wait on that one. Southampton then hosting Chelsea. Currently Southampton a 1-goal underdog at home. I thought they played really well against Manchester United. Really made it hard for United that had one real good opportunity that Bruno Fernandes was able to finish. Wasn't really a believer that he could do that, but he took his chance and that was enough. I think Southampton deserved an equalizer. I still don't believe in Manchester United, but ultimately Southampton were a team a lot of people were picking to get relegated early in the season or preseason. I don't think they've done a lot to change that besides a comeback victory at downtrodden Leicester, who really look like a disaster at this point. So unfortunately, Chelsea come into town. They don't score goals very well, so it makes me want to go against them when you get a full goal of insurance. Southampton Saints crowd should be pretty good. But Chelsea are going to make it really hard on Southampton to score. I think a clean sheet is very likely based on what Southampton are playing offensively. I think they're really hoping for a James Ward-Prowse set piece or a delivery from his set piece, because they're not going to get a lot in open play. Chelsea's defense is still really solid. Koulibaly should be back for this one after a red card, single game suspension. 2 yellows, I guess is a better way to put it. I don't believe in the Chelsea offense whatsoever. I think Southampton have enough problems, and they kind of feel like Ralph. I mean, he throttles it back a little bit for some teams, but he's still, I think, at home. You might see him trying to press a lot, trying to get a win here to get 3 points to stay in the league, with his eyes on March or May or later down the year. That worries me. I just don't think Southampton are good enough. I do think that they deserved better than last weekend, but it's also hard to expect them to see 2 good outings in a row, even if both are at home. Next, we'll go Leeds hosting Everton, the last match on Tuesday, the 30th of August, in the year of our Lord 2022. Leeds are currently a quarter goal favorite at home with all the juice, which feels a little short to me. I expected at least 1/2, and honestly could have seen it a little higher than that as well. Everton have been hanging around. They've been playing tough. Took a lead, but weren't able to hold on to it. Disappointing, but finally got a goal that wasn't assisted by their goalkeeper or was an own goal. So major props to them. Their offense finally showing life. I say that completely in jest because I think it's an awful offense, which makes it really hard to want to back them. I've already said that I'm really into Jesse Marsh so far, so that probably is coming through. But Leeds as a favorite is certainly something you can go against. I don't know that they have enough offense that you can rely on it reliably. But Everton only getting a quarter right now. It looks like it's going to climb to a half by the time kickoff comes. But they did get a little respect towards the end of towards kickoff against Brentford in their last match that I think knocked it from a half to a quarter. Might do the same thing here and with a really getting odds on 1 quarter. It's not enough for me, and we'll see, I guess, what happens where the number moves. But I think even at a half, I'm not really interested in backing Everton. Next, we'll go to Wednesday, August 31st, my mom's birthday. If you know her, shout it out. Appreciate everybody that knows me, that listens, but also for those of you that I don't, feel free to interact. The real_G Warner on Twitter or wherever you're watching this. Leave a comment, drop a note, whatever you're doing. We'll start with Bournemouth hosting Wolves. Almost went Wolves because I watch so much German stuff now. But Bournemouth, a quarter goal underdog at home. All the juice on Wolves on the roads. This looks like it might even climb to a half. Wolves have certainly done a bunch of business bringing in Gonzalo Guedes from Valencia. Also, it looks like they brought in Sasha Kalajdzic from Stuttgart. He's not physical enough. I mean, he's big guy, so he's got a lot of space to protect, I guess, but was never healthy in the Bundesliga. I can't really see that happening and him staying healthy in the Premier League. I feel like that's a big step up for him, but ultimately Wolves are desperate. They know that Raul Jimenez is not enough for them to score goals. They took a lead and led throughout against Newcastle, and then almost looked like they deserved to potentially lose that match, escaped with a draw. Bruno Lage is not an offensive mind. They want to play as tight as they can. I think Bournemouth, I mean, it's hard to gauge the Bournemouth psyche right now, coming in off a loss where they allowed 9 goals to Liverpool, who looked pretty bad, but they ultimately had to go to Anfield. Really tough spot for Bournemouth. I feel like if there's ever a time to buy low, it's when your team just got smashed 9-0. The problem is they played Man City before that, got smashed there as well. The confidence can't be high for Bournemouth, and that's a really big deal in sports, unfortunately. I guess they played Arsenal before that. Man, this schedule for Bournemouth has been bare, but ultimately they probably went into the year thinking we got our 3 points against Aston Villa to start it off as a half a goal underdog, and then had to go through Manchester City, Arsenal, and Liverpool, all 3 in a row. I mean, could be a lot worse. They got 3 points on the board, better than some teams for sure. I think this is a spot where you're going to see them really go into it. I think getting a half of a goal, it's going to be really hard for me to resist Bournemouth, because Wolves are a team I don't think can score. I think on the road, they're even less likely to score. Could certainly see goalless, which makes +1/2 seem like a gold mine. But I'm happy to see that Solanke came on for the second half, though they were already getting murdered. It was good to see him. He did limp a little bit, so I'm a little worried about his leg. I want to see that he's in the starting lineup. Kiefer Moore is a good target man, striker. Great, really tall guy, Welsh international that's good in the air. I don't know that I believe that he can do anything in the run of play, unfortunately. So Bournemouth are going to rely on Solanke, some of their midfielders to attack or set something up on a cross. or some set pieces. But ultimately, I think they're going to counterattack, make it really tight on Wolves. Probably a point is not enough for Bournemouth, but is a decent result, especially after the 3 losses to 3 of the top teams in the league right now. I like them a lot. I don't think Wolves deserve to be a road favorite of even 1 quarter. Yeah, I don't. My line didn't have that there. So don't expect a lot of goals in this one. So I like under as well. Current number is 2.25. Might even be more worth it to play under there because I don't know how they get to 3, to say the least. But I do like Bournemouth as well. Next, we'll go Manchester City hosting Nottingham Forest. Currently, Man City a 3-goal favorite. Nottingham Forest going on the road to the Etihad is going to be really tough. I don't know how they're really going to. I mean, I know how they're going to set up. They're going to sit back, defend, try to counterattack, just like everyone does. The problem is Man City is so used to that. Erling Haaland is a nightmare. I mean, he was a nightmare at Borussia Dortmund, and now he's got 8 other midfielders surrounding him on the pitch, essentially feeding him the ball, which I think he's a great fantasy Premier League asset, FPL asset. Everyone has him by now, though. But if you don't, everyone's going to have him. He might be like 70% owned by at some point this year. Huge week coming off the hat trick. Huge comeback win against Crystal Palace. I mean, great for them. I do like Nottingham Forest. I like Stevie Cooper and how he plans and sets his teams up. And he's got a lot of respect kind of coming into the league. He's done nothing so far for me to be like, I don't agree with it. I was a little bit wondering about his lineup and not starting Awani in the last match against the Tottenham Hotspur, but ultimately, I think you can certainly ask questions about a big striker and how well he can defend a team when you're going to set up to defend. I wonder if that means he was either saving him for this matchup against City or potentially if he doesn't start again. I do think that Nottingham Forest are going to be pitched. Their tents are going to be pitched in the back of their pitch in their 18-yard box, and they're going to do their best. Might even line up 18 guys right in the goal. I mean, getting 3 goals is a huge number. That's like Man City in a cup match, essentially, type of spread against a lower league team. So, surprised to see Nottingham Forest getting so much or so little respect. I think it's probably the correct way to put it. I lean that way, getting 3 goals. I mean, City can certainly win this match 7-0, though. So the big spreads are seeming, just based on how good the top 2 teams are, seems like the big spreads are going to try to trap a lot of people into playing them. I don't know. Probably can't do it. Probably should look as far away as possible. Just move on to Arsenal hosting Aston Villa. Arsenal are a 1.25 goal favorite at home. Villa, I've got a lot of questions about their offense. Arsenal, I feel like, are really off to a great start points wise, but haven't deserved it based on their performances. I think that'll catch up to them eventually. But until then, I mean, it's hard to want to go against them. I mean, Gabriel Jesus finally didn't have a good weekend, but still is lethal, scary, all those sort of things. Arsenal look really good, though they haven't put it all together yet, but they should improve. The confidence is sky high. That's got to help. Aston Villa, they've been spending a ton of money. They already lost Diego Carlos to an Achilles. That's a big problem because clearly they didn't like their center back combination. Now they're forced to use that again. I don't know where. I mean, Villa, the way that Steven Gerrard, I think, has most success is counterattacking. He uses his pace like Ollie Watkins to sprint. The problem is Ollie Watkins can't finish. Danny Ings can't really sprint anymore. He's too old, I think. He can still finish, but he doesn't get a lot of opportunities in the Aston Villa side. So what do you really do there? Arsenal are a tough team to fade right now because they're so young and they're so talented. They haven't put it together yet, but this could be a time that they do it because their legs are going to be a big advantage because they have a lot more depth on that organization or that club. Next, we have West Ham hosting Tottenham. Currently, West Ham a 0.5 goal underdog at home. Tottenham just really haven't impressed me so far this season. I think Conte's style, he wants to counterattack, but so exactly does David Moyes for West Ham. West Ham, I think, just bought Lucas Paqueta. I can't imagine he's going to start in this one or really play a role. Probably not even coming off the bench, not even available. But it's good news for them in the future because they need offensive creativity. They don't have a lot of it. I do think this is going to be a stalemate. Current over-unders 2 3/4, which is really high. I almost feel like under that is more likely than trying to back West Ham to score goals here. I do like West Ham getting a 0.5 goal, though. I just feel like Tottenham are in the fade camp right now until they prove that they can show some good performances. They've brought in a lot of new pieces, and that doesn't work or gel right away. It takes a while. I think they're probably going to be revved up for Champions League coming up. That might be a good time to potentially see them starting to take off. The more matches they play together, the better they'll be. But West Ham getting a 0.5 goal at home, I don't love London Stadium as a great venue, and this is a little bit of a rivalry from North London, Tottenham, and West Ham and East London. I don't know if it's clearly nowhere near as strong as Arsenal, Tottenham, but and I think West Ham and Millwall, I want to say, but I like West Ham. I like under, and usually those are the bets I want to make when I don't see a lot of goals. I want to take either under or the underdog, or potentially both. Last but not least, on Wednesday, we have Liverpool hosting Newcastle. Liverpool, a 1.5 goal favorite with all the juice. I like Newcastle, especially when some starts to climb. I don't know about the status of a lot of players. They missed Guimaraes, unfortunately, midweek. He's an important part of that central defensive midfield. Chris Wood coming in at striker is also not good. Callum Wilson's really important to Newcastle, and I don't know that he's going to be available if he wasn't, I don't think, on the bench or even in the team this past weekend. I think Liverpool, I mean, got an important win under their belts. They needed one. They're still way behind City right now, though, and that's certainly weighing on them. But I also think that they have kind of showed the growing pains of getting rid of Sadio Mane, and maybe he should have been appreciated a lot more. I mean, it makes sense what they did business wise, but and not having Nunez has been a problem. But the Liverpool offense is obviously great. Mo Salah still has it, though it feels like he needs a partner in crime right now that he doesn't really have. I do think Liverpool are going to be extremely overvalued after that big victory. Newcastle have really shown under Eddie Howe, surprisingly, that they're really tight defensively. I think their buys have helped because they didn't really have any good defenders before. But I like them right now, and I'm very curious to see what this lineup looks like, to see if they get some more health and they return some important players. Because as this climbs, it gets closer to 2. It's going to be really hard for me to resist. Last but not least, on Thursday, we have Leicester hosting Manchester United. I like nobody in this game, to put it that way. Leicester, I don't trust at all. They've sold Fofana. They need to bring new players in. I mean, who knows if Brendan Rodgers, like, he's dead man walking, it feels like right now, based on how they started. I have no love or interest in Manchester United at the moment. I thought they didn't deserve to cover this weekend. They did. They had a great performance at Liverpool, but I'm not sure how you can even take that. I don't believe in Eric Ten Hag. He's going to have to prove it. And one kind of wonder goal, probably not a lucky finish, but definitely a low probability scoring event from Bruno Fernandes. I just don't really think that they're a team that I want to back, and I really want to bet against them. But unfortunately, I just don't think Leicester are the team to do that. So going over this now in reverse order to say who could be a best bet here. Leicester will not be. Newcastle is on the list. West Ham is also on the list. Aston Villa is not. Nottingham Forest is not. Bournemouth at home, I think, is of great interest to me. Want them to get to a half of a goal, though. Everton going to skip. Southampton going to skip. Brentford I like, but I'm a little worried about Crystal Palace at home. I do like Fulham at home as well, getting a quarter from Brighton, but certainly would like a little bit more there. And so I'm a little greedy. I think I'm going to hold my nose and back as my best bet for England on this midweek. I guess Matchday 4.5 is what I'm calling it. I'm going to take Bournemouth getting a quarter of a goal at home as my best bet from England. I think they are going to climb to a half a goal underdog. At least I hope they do. There's the debate whether it's worth to pay the juice for the half. I think at this point, there's so much juice in the sport that there's so many minus 120s that I'm going to be betting this year that I'm taking the quarter. And if I win half my bet on a draw, then so be it. But I think that's the way I'm doing it, just to reduce the amount of juice I'm paying, because that makes it ultimately too hard to win at any sport. If you're having to hit 50%, like 57% of the time based on playing really high juice, it just adds up over a long run. So I'll take Bournemouth getting a quarter, though it might get to a decent, reasonable juice by the time this kicks off on Wednesday afternoon. From here, I'll next move to Serie A in Italy for Tuesday action. We have Sassuolo hosting AC Milan. Currently, Sassuolo a 1-goal underdog at home. Sassuolo have not looked very good. They got a great goal from Domenico Berardi, and that's really what they have as an offense right now. They sold Scamacca to West Ham. They still have Maxime Lopez, but I'm not really sure. He's a little guy. I'm not sure what he's really doing in the team, other than he's a good name, and he's played for Marseille, I guess. Milan are off to a great start. I don't know. I mean, I felt like they should have conceded a penalty late against Bologna, but it was looked away and didn't even ask the referee to go to the monitor, and that cost me the cover ultimately. So that was disappointing, but Milan are off to a good start. They beat me a couple times so far, which I don't love, constantly betting against the team and losing against them. I like Milan. I think they're overvalued based on who they are, and they've been getting really strong lines, but they've paid them off so far. I think from where I sit with Milan, I don't really want to go against them. I think they're really strong. Their defense is really athletic and young, which is awesome for the future. This number feels like really big to me, getting a full goal of insurance with a lot of juice. Yes, but I like Sassuolo. I guess they'll be my lean for now. Inter Milan then hosting Cremonese. Cremonese have been played pretty tough this past weekend. Watched them against Roma. They're difficult as well. Stubborn, if you will. Inter, though, are really strong. 2.25 goal favorite here. They can score a ton of goals. And that's the problem, is even if Cremonese hang around for a long time, you never know when Inter is going to go on a run and score 3 times in 10 minutes. And then your 2.25 is toast. So don't think that I can trust Cremonese to score here, but I do like them a little bit. I'm curious to see how they compare to the rest of these teams moving forward. Next, I'll move Roma and Manza. Roma, 1.75 goal favorite. I mean, big numbers on Tuesday, to say the least. Some of the top of the league playing the middle and actually the bottom. Monza, they played Udinese tight, but I wasn't able to pull the trigger on them as a home underdog, and I don't think that I want to do that going to Roma, where Jose Mourinho's side has been scoring a lot of goals. They played really well against Juve, so a little of a letdown potentially there, but I felt like they were the stronger team and looked like a team that might win second half. Even though they fell behind early off a great free kick, like immediate beginning of the game from Vlahovic. But Roma looks strong. I think I like them coming into the year, as everyone knows, but not really that interested, even if this move, all the juice on Monza right now, so I don't think it's going to trend towards the full 2 goals. It could, though, because the big clubs get bet in these sports. But I just don't know that Monza are good enough, especially on a away trip in a tough venue. On Wednesday, we have Empoli hosting Verona, currently a pick'em. With splitting the juice each way, I think Verona are a better team, but they haven't really started the year off very well. Got a draw that probably should have been a win against Bologna when they're playing against 10 men, lost in the cup. Had a tough loss yesterday to Atalanta, and so that was disappointing. Empoli seemed like a goal scoring team, but they shut it off completely and tried to hang on for a draw at Lecce. I think Lecce has been better than a lot of people expected coming into the year as a newly promoted side that I think won Serie B. But not a good sign from Empoli, who were scoring a ton of goals last year, had a bunch of their good players bought away or have left the club. Not much to do at Pick'em, though, so move on. Sampdoria hosting Lazio, coming off an embarrassing loss to Salernitana on the road. Looked like they didn't really respect Salernitana and went for it, trying to score a bunch of goals. And what that did is they got caught with their pants down and were 4-0 down before I even felt like the game was going. I mean, it wasn't that quick, but didn't look good from the start. And now they're half a goal underdog at home to Lazio, who beat Inter and played really well, I thought. Inter, probably another reason that they're a big favorite in this match, is they'll bounce back really hard. But Lazio, they're a team that can score goals, and not when you're getting less than a goal on Sampdoria, on a team that you don't really know that can score, they can't defend. Lazio could certainly score. They will score a goal, I expect, in this one, which makes it really hard to back the home underdog getting a half when you have a lot of questions about them. Udinese then hosting Fiorentina. Pick them right now with slightly more juice on Fiorentina. I'm a little confused by Udinese start to the year. Their new manager seems to be very aggressive, and I don't know that was really a smart idea against AC Milan. They were in the match, but ultimately fell out of it. And Fiorentina are going to be a tough matchup for them, though Fiorentina has been playing a ton of matches qualifying for Conference League or whatever, Europe stuff. Not much to do at Pick'em. If Udinese moves to an underdog, I'll be interested. I think the fixture overload on a team like Fiorentina, who haven't proven they can score goals efficiently as a road favorite, is something I'd like to be against, but they're not one yet. Napoli then hosting Lecce. Napoli, a 1.75 goal favorite. I mean, a lot of naysayers coming out of the woodwork about Napoli entering the year, and I might have been one of them that was taking Roma, who haven't really shown they could finish above Napoli for a while now, or I guess fight for a Champions League position. I think Napoli, they moved on their older guys, but they've looked great to start the year. Lecce, I mean, they've deserved so much better than losing in the 95th minute to Inter. Might have deserved a winner against Empoli just yesterday, and then ultimately, I feel like I've liked them so far, and I'm very interested in trying to back them as we go forward. I do think this is going to be a really tough matchup. And one thing, if I haven't said it already, you got to be worried about these newly promoted and really thin on depth, like poorer clubs, smaller clubs that don't have as many resources nor as good second team players, because it either means there's going to be rotation. You're going to put worse players into this lineup for this second game in 2 days, essentially, or you're going to play your best guys, and they're going to be dog tired already, either subbed off early, which makes you at risk if someone gets hurt later because you're doing a bunch of early subs, or they're just not going to be anywhere near effective. I think Napoli are too deep. So I think I can let Lecce go, though. As this moves to +2, I mean, it's going to be harder and harder as it climbs. I'm not sure it'll do that just yet. Juve then hosting Spezia, as Juventus are not off to a great start. I mean, I feel like Allegri is starting to be under pressure. I think you already are once you take the Juve job. Spezia have not looked awesome, but they've been competitive so far. I think Spezia getting a goal and a half is a lot. It's a big number for Juve to lay, considering they haven't really shown much offense so far this season. I mean, scoring none, getting a clean sheet and a goalless draw against Sampdoria is not a good sign for that offense. And they got to win. They got to score at least 2 goals to cover the spread. If Spezia get 1, which I don't know that I feel great about, I think they'll cover the spread. I think Juve getting 3 seems really unlikely. So I lean Spezia, but certainly it's not exactly where I want to be spending my money here. Thursday, we'll go Atalanta hosting Torino. Atalanta, 3-quarter goal favorite, got a good win at Hellas Verona from a great goal from Koopa Miners, I believe. Torino, they're going to possess the ball. They're going to leave themselves exposed a little bit too much against Atalanta, and that worries me until I'm getting a full goal of insurance. I don't have that yet, unfortunately, and I'm not really sure that I will get it. Let's see. What did I have on this number? I had Atalanta 3/4, so we're right on. We'll see what happens. If Torino move to a full goal underdog, it gets a little bit more interesting. But Atalanta also, when they're scoring a ton. So that's a scary, scary matchup. In a team that I think a lot of people have sold off based on how poorly they did last year, despite high expectations. I feel like they've been good to start this year. Might have deserved a win against Milan as well. Bologna then hosting Salernitana in the last match in Italy for this midweek set of fixtures. Giornata, I don't think that's a Italian word. I think it's Spanish. So anyway, Bologna, half a goal favorite at home against Salernitana. I mean, credit Salernitana. They're the eye-opening performance of the weekend. Might have been because Sampdoria are so poor, but Salernitana did spend a lot of money on their team. They've brought in Bouladia. They got on loan from Villarreal. They spent some more money on other guys that I don't want to run through their roster right now. But that was impressive to me. Getting half of a goal feels like a fair number. They finished the last season so well. I'm trying not to have like the Stockholm syndrome of losing a bet against them yesterday and then loving them now all of a sudden, because then you have the big risk of losing 2 in a row. Bologna, Arnautovic is not getting any younger. He has to be in that lineup for Bologna their offense to function. He didn't really do much against Milan, but that's a much different team he's facing against with great defensive midfielders and great center backs. I don't think Salernitana have that. I lean to Salernitana getting a half, but I would certainly like more. And I don't know if if I'm that confident to jump into it yet. So for the best bet for Italy and Serie A, Salernitana's of interest getting a half for certain. Torino not till they get 1, so that's not really relevant here. Spezia getting 1.5, I like. But that's really just to play against Juve. And I'd really like to, if I'm going to fade one of the best teams in the world, I'd want to do it because I feel really good about the team they're playing, and I don't. Lecce getting 1 3/4 from Napoli doesn't feel like enough yet. Fiorentina pick Lazio giving a half to Sampdoria, who I'm really scared of and staying away from and would like to bet against ultimately. Verona pick Monza getting 1 3/4, Cremonese getting 2 1/4, and Sassuolo, the opener, getting a full goal from Milan. I mean, that to me is the value play here. I don't know that I would call it my best bet, though, unfortunately. I feel like, man, so I guess I'm down to process of elimination. I guess, I'll take Salernitana. They've been hot to end last season. Line might climb above the half of a goal right now that Bologna is giving them. I think there are questions about Bologna's offense for sure. I'll take Salernitana getting a half as my best bet from Italy. And last but not least, we'll go to France for all playing Wednesday, and they're like 2 waves of matches, 5 at noon Central Time here in the US, and then 5 the next window. So I guess that's like 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. I guess in France. Lyon start with Auxerre. They're hosting, giving a goal in 3/4. It's a big, big number, but Lyon could score. So I don't think that Auxerre, as a newly promoted side, is one that I want to get in the way of the Olympique Lyonnais truck with, I got to say. Strasbourg then hosting Nantes, currently Strasbourg a half a goal favorite at home with most of the juice. Not defend. That's certainly something they can do. Strasbourg can score. Their three-headed monster striker is really dynamic, scary, going to make it hard on Alban Lafont in the net for Nantes. I do think it's a lot of rhyming. I do think Nantes are really talented, but they're still trying to figure out how to score goals once they lost Colomwani on a free, which is really awful for their club and building it up. They certainly have the momentum of last season winning the Coupe de France and getting them into European play. The problem is that's going to really hurt their squad depth. I do really like Kirivella, Palois, and what they have in their central defense and central midfielders. So I feel like they can go on the road and make this tough on Strasbourg. I want to say that a half a goal feels like that's kind of a fair spot for me to see this one right now. I don't know that it's enough for me to want to play it. I only had them as a quarter goal underdog when I was making this number, though my numbers probably were teeter-tottering between these two. I want to see where this number goes. I like Nantes, but I'm not sure I like it enough just yet. Monaco then hosting Troyes, two teams that have not been playing anywhere near where they wanted to. It's hard because I want to fade Monaco. I've been doing that a fair amount at the Stade Louis II. I mean, huge stadium, I guess. The crowd always looks sparse, but I don't think they have much of an impact there. They keep selling guys. Seeing Disasi sold, I think, today to PSG. That's tough. They have a lot of players, though, a very deep squad, and they probably had to make these sales happen because they didn't qualify for Champions League for a second straight year, crashing out in the playoffs. Troyes, on the other hand, they sold off some players. They're not firing offensively, and their defense was a question last year. So that's a pretty easy stay away for me, even with a big number. Angers then hosting Reims. Currently, Angers at Pick'em with all the juice. Looks like this one's climbing to a quarter of a goal. That makes me interested in Reims because I feel like Angers have been all over the place so far, and that's what happens when they have young players. And this league is young in general. Reims have not been that impressive to me, though, just yet, unfortunately. I wish they could have been or would have been. They were so good to me last year. Sold their keeper, and I feel like they haven't been the same defensively, and that's a big problem. As this moves to a quarter, I'll be more interested, but it's not there yet. Current lines as a bet online. Montpellier then hosting Ajaccio. Currently, Montpellier a half a goal favorite. All the juice on Ajaccio on the road. Ajaccio's defense has been solid, but I don't know how they score. Montpellier with a riot that they ran, I believe through Reims last weekend was really impressive. No, not through Reims. It was Brest, I believe. And they were a huge underdog because they had a bunch of guys suspended. And I remember calling it out when I did the pod. I was like, why is this number the way it is? But then I found out that all their good players were suspended due to red cards. Anyway, they crushed it. I still think they have a really good offense. It's just putting it all together has been tough, and they've been so bad for a year now. I don't know. Big number for Ajaccio and for Montpellier to lay, especially, feels like an overreaction to Sunday's performance. But I don't think that I can trust Ajaccio to score with Montpellier, and I think Montpellier can score. Next, we have Lille hosting Nice. Currently, Lille giving a half of a goal. All the juice on Nice right now, and that feels expensive. Lille are stronger than you'd think, considering how much they've sold in the last couple seasons. They've added some new players, but hasn't been great. And I have questions about their defense. Certainly, the blowout loss to PSG wasn't great. I think that they just don't really have a strong team right now. Nice, on the other hand, spent a lot of money within their watch. The guy that was brought in, the maestro, to do it all, Galtier, left for PSG, so that's been a problem. I think from where I sit right now, I lean to Nice getting a half of a goal. That's too high. But it's very juiced at the moment. Lens and hosting Lorient, currently Lens giving a full goal. The Song it or the blood and gold. I mean, awesome team, awesome crowd. Love how they play. Love Fofana. Love so much about Lens. Lorient, on the other hand, are going to sit back, defend. This line's pretty similar to what it was when they visited Rennes in the opener. And I think Lorient deserve the respect because they were really tough to break down. They're going to counterattack and try to use their speed and their pace. Loriente is an absolute problem on free kicks. He's awesome. I think from where I sit, I lean to Lorient getting the full goal. Feels a little short to me right now, which is probably a reason they deserve respect. They've started out the year very well after a pretty poor last season that somehow they stayed in the league. I think from where I sit with Lens, I really like that. I'm scared to bet against them, but getting a full goal of insurance is a lot. We'll see where this number ends up. Next, we'll go Rennes hosting Brest. Easy for me to say. Rennes, a 1.25 goal favorite. Brest with a really awful performance this past weekend. And this is their chance to bounce back a couple of days later. Rennes are a lot stronger. They're a lot deeper. They've spent a lot more on their team, on their budget. is higher. They've got a lot more depth. I think these are the matches where Rennes will really come out and show who they are. They've had a really tough start to the year, though. I backed them to finish in a European position, top 5. Haven't liked that start, but they did get a win 2 matches ago, so they're starting to come around. Probably deserved to win at Monaco, but had a really, really bad goalkeeping error. As far as I know, Steven Mandanda is still not available, though. He wasn't on the bench this weekend, so they're probably still really young. So Brest, if I'm them, I'm peppering the goalkeeper as much as possible, the 19-year-old Turk, and making sure he knows what he's doing. I think getting a goal in a quarter is a little bit higher than I was expecting. I mean, it's about there, I guess, but I lean certainly. Yeah, this is way higher than I made. I was below a goal actually. We'll see if Stade Rennais can turn it around, if Rennes can really score goals. I don't know if I trust them yet. And Brest are going to sit back and pack the box and make it tough on Rennes to score. I think they're going to have a lot of pride after getting eviscerated by Montpellier. So I like Brest getting a goal in a quarter. Toulouse then hosting PSG, getting 2 goals. I feel like this might even be shorter than I made it. It actually is. Rare to see PSG. I mean, they're going to be giving so many goals the rest of this league. They're so strong. They keep buying more players. Like, I'm sure they're done, and they keep adding new players like Disasi today from Monaco. I don't know what to say. Toulouse have looked great. Won Ligue 2 last season. Have really looked like they belong in this league, and I mean, should have been in it last season, but lost in the relegation playoff. So it's been 2 years out, and they've built their side clearly. I just don't know that I want to get in the way of PSG right now. Last but not least, we'll go to Marseille hosting Clermont Foot. Marseille, a 1.25 goal favorite. With all the juice, maybe this climbs to 1.5. I feel like Clermont Foot were expected to be relegation fodder. Still a long way to go, but they've been playing better than I think a lot of people expected. They do want to play on their front foot, no pun intended, and they're going to try their best to score goals with Marseille, which does worry me because their team is not the same as they were. They sold Mohamed Bayo to Lille. I've got concerns about Clermont Foot hanging with Marseille at the Velodrome, where it's going to be nuts. And Marseille are great. I think they haven't really started the year off as well as they probably should have. I know a lot of people, it's amazing the dynamic between Marseille, the fans, the ultras, and their manager. They like hate this guy, but Igor Tudor is doing his best, I guess. And basically he's taking in stride that everyone hates him and whistles him all the time when they announce his name in the stadium. But should be a great environment. Marseille should get a ton of energy from their fans. And I don't know, even at a big number, that Clermont Foot are worth playing against that Marseille environment, really. So best bet for France. I'm pretty interested in Clermont, but I don't think they'll make the card this time, getting 1.25. Toulouse getting 2. Nope. Brest getting 1.25 is interesting to me and a good bounce back opportunity. I like Lorient getting 1. Nice getting 0.5 is definitely of interest. We'll see if Rams move to an underdog. They're not there yet. Still hanging at plus 110 on the pick'em number. Not getting 0.5 from Strasbourg is of interest. I'm really worried about them scoring goals. And I feel like the depth and at home helps Strasbourg quite a bit here. So I think I'm going to go a little bit off the beaten path, but I'm going to take Brest plus 1.25. Could lose by a goal, still cover. I think that's a reasonable scenario, and I certainly would like that for my to win a bet and also have 3 points added to Rennes total would be great for my future. But I'm not just betting or talking my book here. I like Brest. I think they're going to have a much better defensive outing. I feel like they have a little bit more offense than a lot of people would think from Brest, because they're really just a defensive side usually. But they have to put up here and put up or shut up time. They really need to respond to that performance last weekend. So Brest plus 1.25 is my best bet from Ligue 1. From Italian Serie A, I went Salernitana getting 0.5 goal at Bologna. And my best bet from England is a fade of Wolves on Bournemouth getting 0.25 goal at home. I think Wolves have done a lot of business, but I'm going to stick with Bournemouth as my ultimate best bet for this weekend show. I did check, and I did win Villarreal 2 shows ago, but here we go again on the spot. I can never remember who my pick was from the last one. I'll update and try to get the records out there to make sure everyone knows, or at least put it, or I'll reply to my tweet with what my best bet was. Actually, I think it was Nottingham Forest, and I've not watched it yet. So there we go. I'll update after the show once I catch up on England, all that other stuff as well. Thank you for joining for a midweek episode. I'm the real_G Warner on Twitter. Please feel free, comments, tweets, anything you want to send my way. 45 minutes, 3 leagues. I feel like we spent a lot of time on this one. Hopefully y'all enjoyed it. Tweet me, the real underscore G Warner, or comments on YouTube, 5-star likes, reviews, ask me a question in the reviews, and I'll try to make sure I look at them before I record again, hopefully on Friday. Thanks so much for coming. We'll talk to you soon.